All right, let's talk about a topic that is absolutely critical for any architect working in the cloud today, making your AWS bill make sense. We're talking about cost efficiency. And look, this isn't about being cheap, it's about being smart. It's a core part of great architecture. So let's dive right in. So here's our game plan. We'll start with a big idea, the fundamental trade-off you need to understand. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, comparing the two main tools for the job, savings plans and reserved instances. After that, we're going to get super practical and talk about how to analyze your own stuff to find where the savings are hiding. We'll even run the numbers so you can see the real-world impact. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about who should own this and how to avoid some really common and costly mistakes. Okay, first things first. The entire universe of cloud cost savings really boils down to one simple, powerful concept. It's a trade. You give AWS a little predictability, and in return, they give you a much, much better price. So let me just ask you this straight up. Think about your environment right now. Do you have servers, databases, or services that are basically always on? You know, the ones that run 24/7? If you're nodding your head yes, then I can almost guarantee you're paying more than you have to. And this is exactly where AWS commitments come into play. It's really just a straightforward agreement. You're basically raising your hand and telling AWS, hey, listen, I know for sure I'm going to be using this much compute power for the next year or even the next 3 years. And for giving them that heads up, that commitment, they turn around and give you a huge discount off the regular on-demand price. So this is the fundamental balancing act. On-demand pricing is awesome for flexibility, right? You can spin things up, tear them down whenever you want, no strings attached. But you pay top dollar for that convenience. Commitments, well, they flip that whole equation. You trade a bit of that do anything, anytime flexibility for some truly significant cost savings. And your job as an architect is to find the perfect balance between the two. Okay, so you're on board, you're ready to make a commitment. What's in your toolbox? Well, AWS gives us two main options: the new school super flexible savings plans and the old school workhorse reserved instances. And this table tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Just look at that flexibility row. Reserved instances are kind of rigid. They lock you in to a specific instance family. But savings plans, they're incredibly flexible. You're not committing to a specific machine, you're committing to a certain dollar per hour spend. And check out the scope. That commitment can apply to EC2, Fargate, even Lambda. That's why for, 99% of modern workloads, the choice is clear. Savings plans should be your go-to. All right, so we know what these tools are and why they're great. But now for the million-dollar question. How do you figure out how much to actually commit to in your environment? Your goal here is to become a kind of data detective. You need to look at your AWS usage graphs from the last month, maybe the last 3 months. You see that part at the very bottom of the graph? That flat line that your usage never ever dips below, even at 3 a.m. on a Sunday? That's it. That's your always-on usage. That is your prime target for savings. And this chart right here is the whole strategy in a nutshell. That nice, flat, stable bar on the left, that's your production web servers, your core databases. That's the stuff you cover with a savings plan. And the jagged, spiky bar on the right, that's your build servers, your dev environments, your unpredictable bursts of traffic. You leave that stuff on demand, so you keep all the flexibility you need for when things get weird. Okay, this all sounds good in theory, but let's talk about what really matters, the money. Let's see what this looks like with some actual numbers using a super common example. So just imagine you've got a fleet of EC2 instances for your main application. They're workhorses. They're running all day, all night, serving your customers. This is the definition of a stable, predictable workload. If you just let these instances run on demand with no commitments, your bill for that fleet is a nice around $10,000 a month. That's your baseline. Now watch the magic happen. You go in, you analyze your usage, and you apply a 3-year savings plan to cover that stable workload. Your new bill? $4,500. I mean, just let that sink in. You didn't change a single line of code. You didn't re-architect anything. You just made a smarter financial choice. And there it is, plain as day. That's a 55% savings. You literally cut the cost of your core infrastructure in half. You just took money you were already spending and put it right back into your company's pocket. That is a huge, huge win for any team. So this is obviously powerful stuff, but to actually make it work, it takes a little more than just a few clicks. You need a process, you need clear ownership, and you need to know what traps to avoid. So whose job is this? The real answer is it's everybody's job. This has to be a team sport. The architects are the ones who can identify the stable workloads.
The FinOps team, if you have one, can crunch the numbers. Engineering leadership needs to make sure it aligns with where the product is going, and of course, the finance department has to sign off on it. If these groups aren't talking, it's not going to work. Now, the biggest fear everyone has is, what if I commit to too much and waste money? Totally valid fear. So here's how you avoid that trap. 1, start small. You don't have to cover 100% of your usage on day 1. 2, use real historical data. Don't just guess. 3, think about your roadmap. Are you planning a big migration that will change your usage? And 4, and this is critical, this is not a set it and forget it thing. You need to review your commitments every quarter to make sure they still make sense. And I want you to remember this. Yeah, the discounts are amazing, but the bigger, more strategic win here is predictability. When a big chunk of your cloud bill is fixed every single month, it makes life so much easier for your finance team, for budgeting, for planning. It turns a chaotic, variable cost into a stable, predictable one.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought to take back to your team. When you do this right, your commitment strategy is an incredible financial asset for your company. But if you ignore it or you mismanage it, it can quickly become a liability. So the question is, which one are you building? Thanks for watching.